In the meantime, as we know, part of Bray is in Dunleary Rathdown. It has been commandeered. It has occupied Wicklow. Well, it looks like we got our own back, because part of the Wicklow National Park is moving into Dublin. And Noel Keys, who looks after heritage and tourism here in the county, is going to tell us all about this. And what have we got from them?
Well, we got 5,000 acres from the National Park now, and have acquired 5,000 acres of public land. It's wonderful. I congratulated Minister Ring yesterday on his initiative to do that. It'll open up the whole area to the public, the general public, and I think it's wonderful from tourism point of view that it'll retain the authenticity of the park, and it'll add greatly to the whole area.
Okay, so how does it link into Wicklow? You can go over sort of the Dublin mountains, go for your I know this is an arbitrary border. It's not really. I'm only joking as regards Wicklow and Dublin, but I mean it's the mountain range of Dublin that goes into Wicklow. How do you access it, say, from the Dublin side?
Well, you're talking about the Whittle Way, which starts in Rathfarnham, which will actually be a part and parcel of that as well, and that'll take it right across. It'll make it user-friendly, in the sense that there were great fears that some person or group might buy it and put something like wind farms or something on it, which would have destroyed the whole ambience of the walk itself. It destroyed it from a tourism point of view, and I think that what Minister Ring has done has been wonderful to actually acquire it for the state.
So where can we access it? Do you go to Marley Park, do you, or do you go to Bornabrina, or what do you do? Up
to Bornabrina, and all the way up across there. I mean, for generations and generations, for 1,000 years, people from the city of Dublin and people from Wicklow have been walking in that area up in Bornabrina, all the way up to...
So does it touch Manacle Bride, for example, or does it touch Manacle Bride, or...
No.
It's a bit over further.
Yeah,
so we're heading for Capure, we're heading...
It's more towards... more on the Enniskerry side of the mountain.
Very good. Okay, well, we look forward to that. Deputy Pat Casey is here as well. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Declan.
Good morning. I suppose as somebody who has tourism interests in the county as well as other responsibilities, you welcome this.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the National Park, the Wicklow National Park, has been a huge success. It was actually launched in Glendalough a number of years ago by Charlie Haughey, who actually first dreamt up of creating a national park, and the first location of it was actually right beside our own hotel, where the Visitors Interpreters Centre is now, and that's where it actually stemmed from. Listen, the National Park is a huge resource from a tourism point of view, and indeed from a recreational point of view from our own locals and indeed people from Dublin. A further extension of this has to be welcomed. But what we have to get out of this is more recreation uses, get people more active in the hillsides, get more different activities partaken in the hillsides, and now that it's in state ownership, that should be a lot easier to do, because we don't have the land issues, we won't have access issues, which would be in relation to private lands. This already was a significant area of conservation, so it was unlikely that it would ever be developed, had ever any real development potential. So from that point of view, I think that the state were able to do a good deal in relation to the purchase of it. Has to be welcomed, Declan. It's another added benefit to Wicklow, and it's a further extension of the Wicklow National Park, which is now one of the largest national parks, I believe, in Europe.
Now, the tourism figures were released for all the visitors. I see about 1.5 million people went to the Guinness Storehouse. They have the advantage of the tour buses pulling up and herding everybody in. The Cliffs and Moher were there, Dublin Zoo, the National Aquatic Centre, the Book of Kells. How far do I have to go down in all this list, Noel Keys, till we find something from the Garden of Ireland on the doorstep of Dublin that people are coming to as tourists?
Well, to be quite honest with you, most of what they have all of what they have in there are, by and large, something that you actually pay into. So it's easily count those numbers. For instance, Glendalough.
Okay, I'll do the non-paid one. The National Gallery of Ireland, National Botanic Gardens, Irish Museum of Modern Art, National Museum of Ireland, and Farmley. How far do I have to go down that list for something in County Wicklow?
Well, again, it's a counting of the numbers. It's about being able to have a clicker that says the number of people who go into the particular facilities. Like, as Wicklow is a very open county in the sense we just spoken about National Park. I mean, many people come to the National Park in Wicklow. There are millions come to the National Park, but you don't have an actual head count for them. I mean, Wicklow has been the recreational area for Dublin for generations, and without a doubt, for instance, as you saw last week in Bray, the air show brought in 140,000 people just in 2 days. Like, they are horrendous numbers of people, but you're not counting them, Declan, just like others are counting them on a clicker somewhere as they come in. And I mean, Glendalough has traditionally been the number 2 right around the world. Powers Court Gardens, for instance, recognised the 3rd best garden in the world. People have been coming to those places, but they're not counting heads as they come in the door, and that's the reality of it. But Wicklow has and will and has always got more than its fair share of people coming in to...
But do we get mentioned in these reports?
Well, we don't. That's the unfortunate thing, we don't. I often wonder who actually compiles these reports, and why and how they come about to do them, but we don't, really, and it's a shame, because, as I said, like last weekend in Bray, you had 140,000 people.
Yeah, what do you make of all this, Pat? And you're at the cutting edge now with your business, but, you want people into the county.
Yeah, what's being said here is the counting of the number of visitors into attractions. And in fairness, what Noel has said is right. It's exceptionally hard to count the number of visitors if you take Glendalough. Number one, you have a number of access points to Glendalough. You can get out of a car at any point in time and start walking around Glendalough. And you just physically almost impossible to count them. Now, in fairness, there was an attempt last year to get counters put at the archway to the monastic site to just try and get a handle on some of the volume of numbers that's actually just walking through that archway. And we actually couldn't get a counter that could count them because the vast volumes of people that actually walked through it. So in fairness, Guinness Storehouse might have 1.5 million visitors. I can tell you right here and now, Glendalough probably has equally the number, except we can't physically count them. And it's the counting of the numbers. Periscourt, just down the road, equally would have high numbers of visitors, but we're not counting them. We don't track them, we don't count them. Wicklow Jail, Rustborough House. There's many houses out there, but we're not actually physically counting numbers. And maybe that's the weaknesses from Wicklow's point of view, because then we can't argue.
Shout about
it when it comes. And maybe it is something. Now, I know the OPW tried hard with Simon Harris to get the counters in Glendalough. And in fairness, I think he was willing to fund them. But they physically couldn't count the volume of numbers that passed through the gateway. And we only looked at the gateway as one avenue of counting them. There's other exit points where we couldn't count. So it's hard. Wesley Atkinson, the national manager, has trackers on some of the walking routes, and the lower board walking route, I think a number of years ago, had 110,000 visitors on that particular walking route in 1 month. So the numbers are in Wicklow and they are in Glendalough. We're just physically not counting it, and that is a weakness, as you've identified, moving forward, because we can't shout about it because we don't have the data to back it up.
What's this ancient Irish East? I mean, are we competing with what's in the west of Ireland there? No, or is this, is it comparable? Or
well, it's competing with anybody, Declan. We have the product here. When you have the product, you don't need to compete with somebody who doesn't have it. We have it, and it's here. And
it gets all publicity from Donegal down to Kinsale or something like this.
It's a driving route. What we have here is a whole different thing. You're selling Ireland 5,000 years of ancient history. We have some wonderful sites. We're selling them at the moment. I think it'll be like the one in the west. It will eventually be a major success. For instance, a couple of weeks ago we were in China selling it, and the people there want to be part. They want to buy into the ancient East.
What's part of ancient East? What is Wicklow's bit?
Well, Wicklow...
Where do you join it in Wicklow and where do you leave it?
Well, you join it at the beginning of Wicklow. Either whichever side you come in from, it's there. I mean, all the sites are there.
If I want to start now and I want to go through Wicklow on the ancient East, where do I go?
Well, you start in Arklow, for instance, if you're coming up from Wexford, which is a Viking town. Wicklow Sound itself is a Viking town, founded by the Vikings. Then you have the Normans, you have the Norman castles, you have the Norman keeps, right all the way up to the present day. You have the jail in Wicklow town. I suppose it's not something everyone would want to go and visit, but it's a major tourist attraction. If you come in from the other side, then you have all of the Iron Age forts over from Lessington, that side. You have wonderful walks through very beautiful areas of it. You have the historical houses that are there from the 16th and 17th century. So all of those things are there. But what we're trying to do is not confine ourselves to Wicklow. Like I at the moment now I'm working with Dublin Tourism to create a partnership whereby we don't just create something that people just stay, come into Wicklow for half an hour and look at it. We try and partnership, and Wexford, Waterford and Kilkenny did similar, and we will be doing partnerships with Meath and Dublin.
Over the weekend there's been lots of interaction on social media about hidden spots, secrets that are in County Wicklow. Okay, maybe people are hearing more about Kilmacurran now, but there was talk about flat lands near Blessington that should be shouted about more, a bit of a secret. Nobody ever talks about it. There's no signs for it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Charleville House, is it, near Enniskerry?
Yeah.
Why aren't people talking about that? One of the best hidden gardens, secret gardens that there is, and there it is, a stone's throw from Dublin. Other people suggesting that apart from the cliff walk from Bray to Greystones, there should be some sort of a green walk from Greystones to Wicklow town. What about all those possibilities?
Yes, I think all of those are, but there's 57 gardens opened in Wicklow that are open to the public. There are 57 gardens.
Did you know that, Pat?
A bit of gardens.
There was 57.
Yeah, well, I suppose we used to have the Wicklow Garden Festival we used to have years ago as part of the Wicklow Tourism, so I was always aware of the gardens. The house in Enniskerry now I wasn't aware of till it was actually made.
And you live here.
But, and that's the whole purpose of Ireland's Ancient East, and I'll come back to Ireland's Ancient East later on, is to find these hidden gems and to tell the stories about these hidden gems that we have in Wicklow. And that is the purpose of the marketing exercise of Ireland's Ancient East. Now, I always had reservations of the name Ireland's Ancient East, and I still have today, because it doesn't conjure up exactly everything that Wicklow has to offer. The Whitle Way, can imagine anything, events that can happen there, but Ireland's Ancient East just didn't do it for me, or still doesn't do it for me. And in fairness, RT have recognised that it didn't work. So John Creedon has changed it to Ireland's Epic East in his TV series in relation to. He's dropped the ancient bit, and that was always my concern, was the Ireland's Ancient East. Who does that attract with the name that it's being called? And I know they're targeting the cultural curious market, which is fair enough, but I think Wicklow could be the outdoor recreation capital of Ireland, and should be.
Do you know what we have? Do you know what we have? And Noel already mentioned it, but it's so underdeveloped. The Wicklow Way. Yeah. Now, you can go there. There's part of it blocked out, but you can walk it generally. So if I start walking there, and I want to head off now all the way down Tinnahealy, or what's the name of the pub down there? The Sleeping Cow or something?
You can head to Donegal, all the way to Donegal.
Well, but
it's a 3-day event.
We'll start going in Marley Park down, okay? Down through Wicklow. What facilities are available for me walking the Wicklow Way?
In what respect? Like, walking is about walking, you know? I mean, at the end of the day...
Is there much information along the way? Is it like the Camino? Can I go along and can I don't know, book into bed and breakfast along the way? Can I say, after I've done 3 or 4 miles now, I wonder if where's around here? Is there signposts? Is there all sort of, I don't know, facilities to sit down and have a bit of lunch or something, maybe a picnic table? What development has been done on the Wicklow Way?
Declan, what have we got there? On the Wicklow Way, you have, it's a walk. It's like the Camino, a lot of things. But you can. It's always been my difficulty with the Wicklow Way that it doesn't actually touch towns and villages in Wicklow.
Good.
It doesn't touch them.
So we can get into the wilderness.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
But we need to be able to...
That's what asked me the question.
Okay,
where do you get a cup of tea, or where do you get a bottle of water or something like that? That is a difficulty with it. And I would say that there should be new spurs put from it, whereby, you know, for instance, that if you're going into Roundwood, or you touch base with Glendalough, or at the moment, to get accommodation, and I only had this yesterday from a tour operator who bus operator who actually picked 2 people up in Rathfarnham because they were totally out. Now, they had the maps, they had all of the rest, but where they were actually going to stay was going to be an issue. And he filled them in on the fact that by and large it was going to be the hostels along the route that they would be staying in. There aren't that many. It doesn't touch the main towns or villages.
That's the problem with it.
It's not a problem.
They've got the Wild Atlantic Way doing all that business. We've got the Ireland East that nobody cares about. Pat Casey doesn't like it. John Creedon doesn't like it, but he's from Cork, so we have to make exceptions.
Cork is in Ireland's ancient East, believe it or not.
But apart from that, look, the Wicklow Way needs to be exploited. That needs to be ours. I tell you, there'd be nobody coming along to the Wild Atlantic Way if they knew what the Wicklow Way had to
just say about the ancient East, or the Wicklow Way. The Wicklow Way was the gentleman who founded it was he was a writer in the Evening Press, as far as I'm aware, and he was a great walker, and he spent his time walking in the Wicklow Mountains, in Dublin Wicklow Mountains, and he was the one who actually initiated. Now, his view was that he didn't need to be, or he didn't want to be. He wanted to be able to get out there and have his mind cleared and walk through the mountains. But from a tourism point of view, it has major attractions, but it does need somewhat rejigging now.
Okay. No, I'd like to take that now. That's fantastic that we have this underutilized facility for bringing people in from the doorstep of the capital city in, and we can exploit it without spoiling it. Pat Casey, this is what we should be doing, right?
No doubt about it, Declan. The Wicklow Way is underutilised, under-promoted, and it's like...
Much do we spend on the Ireland Ancient East?
Oh, I don't know, many millions has been spent on Ireland's Ancient East, and all I know is the Wild Atlantic Way has got another 100 million to be spent on.
And what have we got?
What have
we got? We got a few old hostels there, and
very little. But in fairness, it's up to ourselves to try and put the likes of the Wicklow Way on the map and to use it. And in fairness, now it has been developed over the last few years, and there's a number of companies have been supported off it. We've actually have a company called Wicklow Way Baggage now, which moves your bags from place to place. We do need to do a lot more about connecting the villages to the Wicklow Way. When you come off it in Lara, when you come down Paddock Hill, there's no sign saying Lara 50 metres down the road. You just go straight. No, and this is where we're actually falling down. You're actually only about...
What are you fellas doing there? And it's not just you, Noel, I know, but you are brutal by the sound of it now.
Well, we're actually trying. We're actually making all these adjustments. You cannot do something overnight, Declan, as you're aware. I think 22 million has been spent by Fáilte Ireland on the Ancient East to up to 220. Now, you might say that's about signage. As Deputy Casey said, the reality is that people themselves in Wicklow and elsewhere will have to buy into that. They'll have to work on that. And again, I go back, one of the reasons we were in China was to look at inward investment into the hospitality industry in Wicklow. They're looking to invest, and we're out there saying, look, we're looking for investment.
It's a good add-on, but it's not our primary one.
In fairness, the whole linear routes are probably one of the future that we haven't tapped into. And in fairness, Wicklow has the advantage. It has the Wicklow Way, which a lot of counties don't have. The other thing that we have a connection with that is being developed in Northern Ireland is St. Patrick's Way and St. Patrick's Camino. And in fairness, St. Patrick has landed in Wicklow Harbour and started his journey there. So we need to be focusing our efforts in trying to get the St. Patrick's route all the way up to the north. And include Wicklow in it, and take it from Wicklow town, bring it across maybe to the St. Kevin's Way in Glendalough, bring it into the far side of the gap, and bring it on. And it's the development of these linear routes I think will suit Wicklow better, because now people are coming and they're staying in the county,
so come on,
they're walking a number of distance.
No, I know we're giving you a hard time about this, but really, grab some of that old waste of money stuff and the Ireland HDs and give it into the Patrick's Way and the Wicklow Way.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be wholeheartedly in favour of that. But as I said to you earlier, the industry, the tourism industry themselves will have to buy into this. It's not like I only chair Wicklow Tourism. That is an organisation. Now, the local authority here in Wicklow have been extremely good in promoting Wicklow through tourism, through their tourism initiatives. They have funded Wicklow Tourism by and large over a long number of years, and they are trying to actually bring about a change. And I must say that without the local authorities' help here in Wicklow, we would be at nothing, because getting the trade to buy in is very, very difficult, because they're operating as individuals. And I'm saying to them, look, come together and do something together. You know, I mean, I was down in Wexford last week, and down there, totally different. People come together. And they
certainly do. Wexford, Waterford and Kilkenny looking for cultural capital.
Well, they are, yeah. And I've actually organised a meeting next week now with Dublin Tourism, whereby we will try and form a bond of friendship with them, and they have agreed to do that.
Okay, and final word to you, Deputy Casey.
Listen, there's huge potential from a tourism point of view for the county, both west and east, and we mustn't forget the west either, because I mean, sometimes it's the poorer cousin of the east, as Wicklow is the poorer cousin of Dublin. What Noel is saying in relation to the industry is correct, but historically Wicklow, because of its low bed nights, hasn't had the same political influence as the likes of Wexford or Kerry or Cork has, or even Galway, and because of our proximity to Dublin, and with the focus being on the larger tourism market segments like the big American market, which suits Dublin, doesn't suit Wicklow, we have been the forgotten county of Falch Ireland down through the years, historically, and we're still at that, because in fairness, Wicklow will always be a niche tourism market. It'll never be a mass tourism market, because the mass tourism markets will want to stay in Dublin and not in Wicklow. And the likes of the archery coming to Bray now at the end of September is a fantastic result. A niche sport coming to Bray.
Okay.
30 teams involved, 10 per team. There's equivalent of nearly over 1,200 bed nights there alone with the teams involved. And it's small stuff like that Wicklow, I think, can attract. And I would love to see Falch Ireland targeting the niche market sector rather than the mass.
A lot of niches. Okay, a lot of texts in about difficulty parking all over the place, including Sally Gab trying to find a place to spend a penny and all that sort of stuff. Other people saying the walkers are the meanest, they never spend a penny. But anyway, there you go. We leave it at that. Noel Keys, Chair of Wicklow Tourism, and Deputy Pat Casey. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Declan.